Welcome to Positive Talk Radio. Our goal is simple, to explore evolving ideas one conversation at a time. So, stay with us as right now we present. I'm going to have a conversation with a young man who has spent his entire life in the acting profession. And what I mean by that is he went to the University of Washington. He was a teacher, a drama teacher for a long time, an administrator, and now he has got, he's the artistic director of Heart Repertory Theatre, which is a brand new venture out of Woodinville. There are now 2 theaters in Woodinville. And we're going to talk about, I really want to talk about the art form, because I really wanted to do what he did. He'd spent his whole life being around people that were artistic and could be great actors and actresses and had a vision, and he had a vision and stuff like that. And he actually made it work. Most actors don't get the chance to make it work very well because it's a hard way to make a living. So the gentleman we're going to talk to today, his name is, and I promise you I'm going to screw up his first name, but we'll try anyway. Hjalmer Anderson. Am I close?
Yeah, you're getting close. The HJ is a Y sound, so it's like Hjalmer.
Hjalmer,
like
okay.
Yelling at somebody. Hjalmer.
See, and that is why it was. I had an associate that was messing with it, going, "Hi, John. Hi, John." So we were trying to figure it out, but welcome to the show. How are you today, sir?
I'm great and looking forward to talking about what I do, because I've been doing it for 50 years in the profession. So, and I'm continuing at my age at 72. So, I just try to stay as active as I can and be able to surround myself with creative people, and it keeps me going.
Well, when you are as creative as you are and doing what you've been doing for as long as you have been doing it and have the passion for it, that's one of the things that we talk a lot about here on this show, is that if you're passionate about what you do, you tend to do it longer, you have more fun with it, you tend to be a little healthier, and a lot of different aspects of life are just a little bit better when you're living your passion. Don't you think?
Absolutely. When I was in college, it was going to be the athletic field, but I didn't have the body to be able to move on a football field, the basketball court, which I loved. So I got into the rowing crew and did that my freshman year. But until I found this wonderful teacher at the UW, John Kaufman, who was teaching a beginning theater class, and I needed my humanities. So I took it because my fraternity president at Kappa Sigma was a fraternity major. And he said, well, you got to take this class and see what you think. Oh, boy, I took it and I said, what was I missing? It was an eye-opener to be able to see how you create and tell stories and do it live. And live theater is something that I just pursued in earnest for the rest of those 4 years at the UW. And being in sports, I also understood about being a coach and working with young people. And I did that at the YMCA, helping them learn basketball, but then put the two together and you find out that teaching theater was something that I could do, and I could do it well. And it was my hiring at Inglemoor High School in the Northshore School District. I was hired 3 weeks after I had graduated, and was able to take on a maternity leave of a English teacher who was doing it and I vowed that I would make this theater department one of the best in the country. And I did. Inglemoor for 9 years, got national recognition toward the end of my career there before I moved to Woodinville High School. And Woodinville became, for 23 years, was internationally recognized, and students earned millions of dollars of scholarships in theater, and a lot of them were all over the country working in the field, whether they be in broadcasting. I know I have a couple of them who work at King Television in the tech field, and I had a few that went on and became designers, worked at the Kennedy Center in New York, LA, Chicago, Dallas, even Denver, and in Seattle. They're all over the country. And to be able to hold on to their friendships on Facebook to find out what their careers are doing. And I just ran into one of them who was just on the Tonight Show, who Fahim Anwar, who just he became a stand-up comic, and he was one of my comic actors in his high school days. And my reward was to watch him on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. I said, "Oh no, that's really amazing." And
that's pretty cool. By the way, I gotta tell you, there's a young lady who's listening to us.
Oh, I know her.
You do, and that is Amber Smith.
Yeah, Amber Smith.
Amber is she's a former Miss Washington. She's a member of your board. She's got a brand new magazine out that we will be talking about at another time. April 5th, she's going to be on the show. We're trying to snooker her into it.
I pulled her too off of Instagram and recruited her to be on the board for the Woodinville Repertory Theatre. So she's going to be helping me with our shows coming up and working on puppetry and youth theater in her storytelling skills that she has. So yeah, I'm glad to have run into Amber, so to speak.
Yes, indeed. Well, when you have been doing what you've been doing for so long, you become very well known in the community, and the number of kids that you've worked with over the years. When you think of the number of shows do you even have a number on it? Have you ever sat down and looked at the number?
I was averaging at the high school level 3 to 4 shows a year. And I did that for 32, so you can do the multiplication table on that. But that didn't even include the one. Those were mounted shows. The ones that I did just in the teaching classroom, I don't even know the numbers, but it was over 200 high school productions. But,
did you ever do Fiddler on the Roof?
I did it 3 times.
Oh, very nice, very nice.
The first time I did it was in '81 at Inglemoor, and the lead who played my Tevye went on to work with Jim French over on his radio broadcasts that he did when he was still alive. His name was Derek Turner, but he was such a talent. And then the other one, the one played the Golda, was Sherry Laveau. She's a jazz singer in Dallas right now and has a career in music. But several of the others, they went on to other fields. But yeah, Fiddler on the Roof was one of my favorites. I did it again at Woodinville and was a different cast, but the same quality of work. Once you get a good script, and you get good material like that, the storytelling, and it just flocks the talent to what you're doing. And if you know how to direct these talented individuals, people come and see your product.
Yes, indeed. And Amber wants to take over the interview, so I'm going to let her. Okay. What was your favorite production?
I have several. I'd say the most recent at the high school level was a show of Footloose and Kiss Me Kate.
Love that show.
Oklahoma and Crazy for You. Oklahoma and Crazy for You, we took to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival and performed in front of an international audience. So those were highlights of my life. As far as straight plays, I repeat some of the favorites, but Death of a Salesman and All My Sons. Arthur Miller was one of my favorite playwrights. And I still can recall back when I was doing them, and then go back and look at the old videos. Oh God, we had it pegged in what we were doing. And yeah, I would say those two are highlights in my life. It's tough when you left teaching, because my last show was Once Upon a Mattress, and that was my last show as a high school teacher, and I had lots of tears, a lot of tears leaving that school.
So did everybody else around
luckily, I was an administrator and was able to connect with the school over the years, and I still have connections with the school district, Inglemoor and Bothell and North Creek and Woodinville. Woodinville teacher currently I was on the hiring team to get him on, and he has the same energy and talent that I had, and watching his work makes me feel my legacy is still alive at that school. And over at Inglemoor, one of my alums is the drama teacher there. So it's still in the family in so many ways.
What you've done over the last 50 years is create a legacy of wonderful actor upon actor, and it's probably multi-generational now. And they can come back and talk to you about how important it was to be in your life at that time, and that I'm willing to bet you people stop you on the street or in the grocery store or at the post office and say, "Mr. Anderson, we really missed you, and we really miss you."
I've got several stories for you on that. Yes, say that. I'll say that several times. Yes, they do, and I have been stopped. Let me tell you a story.
Okay.
Okay. I got a scholarship from the Washington State as one of the top teachers back in the late 80s. And I got to go back to the University of Washington and work with Jack Clay, who was running the professional actor training program. And during one of the summer sessions, if you remember Robert Reed, the late Robert Reed, who was on the Brady Bunch, he was the dad. He was in our class working with Cecily Berry, who was a British voice teacher of the Shakespeare group in London, and she was here in town working with us at UW, and Robert was in the class, and every time Robert would walk down the street, this was the time Brady Bunch was still going on, the people would stop to get his autograph, right? So we got used to seeing him pull out, being stopped, and everything else, walking in groups on the Ave. And then Robert and I and a few others, we went to University Towers bar down in the basement. And we sat down around a table and we're sharing our stories about the class and everything. And there are three people at the bar that were looking over, pointing at our table, and said, well, Robert looks over, he says, I think they're going to come over here. And he pulled out his pen. He pulled out his pen like that, and I'm ready, to do the autograph. They walked right past Robert. All three of them came over and says, aren't you Hjalmer Anderson, the drama teacher? I had you when I was at Inglemoor. And the story goes further, because everybody in the group just burst into laughter, and Robert slowly put his pin back in his shirt, and he looked at me and smiled. And we walked back to campus, and Robert looked at me and he says, wow, you're the world famous drama teacher, aren't you? Yeah, well, the story got back to Cecily Berry, who hates TV actors. And she says, she comes over and takes her book that she had written and writes inside of it, to the world famous drama teacher, Cecily Berry. And I still have that book. I cherish it to this day. But that put everything in perspective when that happened.
Yes, indeed. Well, the cool thing is that just the amount of positive impact you had on the number of lives that you did, and getting them perhaps even a direction. Now, Amber would like to know, sir, What are you looking forward to in your life coming up over the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, first of all, making sure we get enough funds so I can direct in my new company. That fundraising is going to be probably one of our most important elements over the next couple of months. We just closed a very successful Silent Sky by Laura Gunderson, who I dearly love as a playwright. And it was highly successful at Woodinville, but we only ran it for 2 weeks because of our finances. It could have run a month because it was starting to sell out in Woodinville. But then now that we're past that, I've got people like Amber and a few other of my alums that are still in the company who are getting ready for the Glass Menagerie, which is going to be directed by Adrian Serrato in September. And then in July, we're planning to do a fundraiser with a stage reading of another Gunderson play that is entitled The Castropolis. I don't know if you can read that, but it's a one-act play based on Laura Gunderson's husband, who was a doctor during the pandemic, and he was trapped on stage. And she wrote it about him, and it became a pretty good hit in LA. So we're going to be doing that for a stage reading, along with raffles and trying to get auction items to go to help finance. But then beyond, once we do that, and a grant writing that has to happen, I've got this Amber Smith lady that has got this whole wonderful idea of doing a show on YouTube with her work that she does in puppetry that I'm looking forward to helping produce, as well as her book that she's just released. I don't know if she can throw that up, the graphic for that, but she has a book that she's just going to release and give the funds to us at that point. And then next season, I've got I want to do Agnes of God, which is a show I've always wanted to do. I saw it on Broadway, and it's a wonderful show. We're going to do the one-act play that goes wrong, which is like Noises Off next season. And I want to do an Arthur Miller show in 2024. So it's not just what we just did, because one of the things about theater, once you do a show, it's over. You got to move on to the next one.
It is, that's probably, well, for me, it was like, see, because I also played football. Speaking of which, you were at the University of Washington during a time when one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time was there.
So Sonny Six Killer?
Yes, sir.
Mine too. I love that guy.
And he was the first quarterback at the University of Washington that really got nationally noticed.
And the way he could throw the ball downfield, it was magic.
It really was.
Like watching some of these quarterbacks on the Seahawks when they could do it, when they weren't getting hounded or tackled in the back. When I played football, it was on the line. I was a offensive and defensive tackle on Bainbridge High School's team. And went both ways for 2 years and got exhausted at it, but I did it. But basketball, we went to state a few times with my 2 years in high school, and it's always been my passion. I played all the way till my 50s, in regional and recreational basketball out here in the Northshore area. That's still a game I love to play if I could, if my knees weren't gone. But
yeah, it's something happens when you get older, and
I know. But I still get out and snorkel. So and try to get into the water.
I think that's a wonderful thing that you're able to do that in Puget Sound when the water's like 45 degrees, but you wear a wetsuit or a dry suit or whatever kind of suit.
I do wear a wetsuit, 7mm, and I was out Friday. Water, the water is probably about 48 degrees. No, I could stay out for an hour in the wetsuit and come out, and the only thing that would bother me would be how much I had to kick in the water to move around during the currents. But other than that, there's nothing like seeing life underwater. And I got the bug again when I went to Florida, to the Florida Keys, and there's a there's a reef out there right on the Atlantic side, that that just is amazing. Oh, okay. Amber just wrote, the proceeds are 100% donated to Heart Theater, her book.
Yes.
That's quite.
And
That's
Amber,
quite
if you'd put the name of the book in and its release date, that would be awesome.
that would be great. You know,
And then people can be looking for it as they move forward. Because as you know, Hjalmer, it is really hard, and there's a lot of finances that go into making a production, including you've got to buy the script and then all the things that go. Let's see, it's going to be
royalties.
called Little Jack Frost.
Yeah, the royalties, the production costs, the stipends for your artistic staff. It can run, in a cheap production, about $10,000 to put a show on. And if it's a show you want to really pay the actors and staff well, you can run up to $15,000 pretty easily. And that's running at about 3 to 4 weekends. So, in case Amber's got the list of her book that she made with heart, includes sheet music and puppet patterns. Yeah, exciting
for people, because she's a puppeteer by trade.
Yes, she is, and
she does a magnificent job of doing that. And with the book, and she's going to support. She's on the board. She's going to support the
theater company.
I think that's great.
I was a puppeteer in college. Worked with the Royal Valentinetti, and we did Everyman in life-size rod puppets up at St. Mark's Cathedral back in the day. So I have a lot of history with that too. Okay, Amber?
My books are Creative Commons.
There you go.
I'm not exactly sure what that means. What does that mean, sir?
I'm not sure what she means by that either. She's the expert on that. I think it's where she's going to be publishing it with. Her books are going to be in that group.
Oh, okay. Because, and she's got a lot of things going right now. She's got the magazine, she's got the book coming out, and the magazine is digital, and so you can and Amber, I'm hopeful that she can tell us where people can go to download the book or the magazine.
The magazine.
We should have her on. She could actually. I could, if yeah.
She told me she didn't want it to be. I was just talking to her on texting, saying, I said, you should probably be on this telecast too, because and she said, I don't want to be in the public eye. Well, you are in the public eye, Amber. You always have been.
You can't hide it when you're a former Miss Washington, and
that's correct.
And you're a talented artist, and you're doing.
I think I just embarrassed her right then. So.
Yes, well, that if she wants to, she deserves to have everything in life based upon her creativity and the person she is.
That's right.
And so by all means, just, bite the bullet, put yourself out there, because it's not going to bite back. I promise you.
Yeah, that's it.
So now let me ask you, if you've been doing this, for a long time, and it's your passion. It's in your heart. Oh,
we'll tell you what that means. Oh, look at that.
She's blushing. But if you weren't able to do what you've done for the last 50 years, do you have any idea what you'd be doing now?
I'm probably playing video games, but I'd be going to the gym, just trying to stay active, travel when I can, when I can't afford it. But I miss traveling. Pandemic shut down a lot of that over the last couple of years. And, I'd be really sad not being able to create. There's just something about life is about working with other people and creating with a group of people, and being together makes you feel younger. And, I think that's why a lot of actors and directors continue on as long as they can until they just can't do it anymore. And you see a lot of those folks in film. I mean, you'll see a lot of them going into their 80s are trying to continue. if they have the energy to be able to memorize and be able to work together as a group. But
I can't believe that Harrison Ford is going to play Indiana Jones again.
But I think it's his last time too. He said in an interview that it's his last time. He can't physically do it anymore. It just takes too much out of him. And I keep looking at Tom Cruise. I mean, I know he's not as old as the rest of us, but I mean, he's still doing a lot of his own stunts.
Well, he's over 50. I think.
Yeah, he is.
So if you had to pick one now, first of all, I got to ask you, because there is stage, there is screen. What would you prefer? I assume, since you've been teaching stage all this time, that you prefer stage acting and the whole camaraderie and everything that is around that, rather than if you were to direct a movie or a TV show.
You got it right. It was stage. And the reason is because it's live. And you can be with the audience as they're watching it when you're sharing the story. And there's nothing like a director watching his cast to get a successful reaction from the audience. When you're in film, you don't always get to see it unless it's a review, or you sit in the audience when you're watching, listening to what their reactions are to what you created. The only problem, it's interesting when you said that, is when I started out, I thought about going to LA and going to the UCLA Film School, or USC, and pursuing it until I fell in love and stayed home and said, what am I going to do for a living with a director theater degree? And I was lucky enough to discover teaching, and that gives you a steady paycheck as you're a teacher.
And it also allowed you to pursue your passion and get a paycheck at the same time.
Exactly. And the ghost that I was always chasing is I had to have the high quality in order to build the program so I could do what I do, because otherwise I'd be teaching English, which wasn't my favorite subject. And I got a cat in front of me. So
what's the kitty's name?
This one is Crazy Cat. Meow.
Meow.
And this other one is Tinka, which is right on my right elbow. I'm a cat person.
Yeah, well, that's pretty cool. I got it now. You'll understand this story I'm about to tell. When I was in college, and this is why I love the theater as well, because you never know what's going to happen. And it's always, every night something a little bit different happens, and so you have to engage all of your senses, all of your thoughts, and to create this character, and also to deal with the challenges that happen when humans are getting together and nobody's perfect.
Right.
And the story that I have is, and you'll appreciate this, I was doing Fiddler on the Roof. Scene 4, the bar, the To Life scene.
Yeah.
And I was I was Lazar Wolf the Butcher, and the way and Gary Taylor was the director, and the way that he had it staged was that the curtains were closed. This was a dinner theater night, so there were 300 people in the audience, all having salmon or steak. They got to pick. And so I was downstage, down in the middle. The orchestra was just finishing up, and I had a watch in my hand. And what I was supposed to do was to turn to my right, and Reb Mortka was going to be behind the bar, and I was going to say to him, Reb Mortka, a bottle of your best brandy. And so we had another guy that you may have heard of. His name was what's his name? He was the night director at Green River. In any event, he was a stagehand. He acted as a stagehand, and so the lights are about ready to go down, They start going down. He goes over. In those days, this is like 1980, so it was a manual curtain that you had to rise. It wasn't automatic or anything. And so he goes over there to pull the curtain open. And I look at him. I look for Reb Morka. Reb Morka's not there.
Uh-oh.
That's what I said.
Oh.
and and so I said, oh, his name was Joe. And I said, Joe. I said, what? I said, Reb Morka, he's not there. He looked at me and got this sly little grin on his face.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. And that's what I said again. I said, oh, no. And he raised the curtain, and Reb Morka still wasn't there. So we were in the theater, and the green room was actually all the way at the front of the theater, and there was a hallway that you walk down to get to the stage. So I, in my best, loudest voice, said, Reb Morka! And then he liked scene 3, and he was marveling at the music and how nice the music was, and and then I screamed at him, and he was like, oh crap. And so you could hear him, the entire audience could hear him running down the entire length of the theater to get to the stage. And then we continued on, but I'll never forget Joe and his that little grin. And state actors do that to each other all the time, don't they?
There are so many stories that just when you were telling that, there are so many stories I have about ad libs that have to happen between a scene when somebody wasn't there or they forgot their line. So how do you move forward, drop sections and move on? Yeah. Do you remember Tony Ventrella?
Oh, I know him well. He was on my show several times.
Okay. Well, Tony was in one of my shows. The most recent one was Plaza Suite with the Woodinville Rep that I directed. And Tony had trouble memorizing lines at his age at that point. And the third scene of Plaza Suite, he has to kiss this girl who's supposed to be his wife, but he didn't want to do it. So he came to me and whispered, he says, I don't think I can memorize the rest of the script. So I said, okay, well, I'll try to find someone else. So I talked to the actress, and she says, well, my husband can do it. So I brought Dave Taylor in to take over his part. And so he did, the play has Tony's part play in every scene in different circumstances in the Neil Simon play. But that one he didn't do. And then toward the end, as we were getting close to opening, he still was having trouble memorizing. I was trying to come up with solutions how to help him. And he suggested this little earplug that you put in your ear that you can have the stage manager give him his lines before he says them, so he would be able to stay on cue. It's kind of like what they do at, with cue cards or something like that at Saturday Night Live.
Is that allowed?
Well, the earplug, yeah. I mean, they had them, and they used them a lot on King Television when he was sports broadcasting.
Sure,
that they used them there. So he was going to go get them, and I said, I would prefer that you just didn't do that. So he finally was able to get through the show without dropping lines too much. And Tony is a great guy. I mean, he's one of those guys you just want to be around. He has this kind of magnetic personality, and when people see him, I mean, he's kind of like those characters. You don't want to see a character; you just want to see Tony Ventrella play somebody, and that drew in the audiences because of his name. He told me he did theater all over town, and he even created a couple of, I think out in Muckleteal or Marysville, that he did a couple of theater companies out there, as well as down the South End, that he did create some. But Tony was quite the spokesperson for our fundraising for the Northshore Performing Arts Center while we were doing promotions and everything else for shows, and he would come out and be a spokesperson. So I just think a lot about Tony, a lot. And I thank him if he's ever listens to us. I thank him, Tony, for being such a great friend and a great colleague.
He is a remarkable fellow who was on King 5 for many years as a sports broadcaster, and
Yeah.
he did some wonderful things, and he also was a runner. He wrote a really cool book that I was looking for it now for the book that he wrote, which was a very positive type book. Ooh.
Well, I know what you're talking about, but
In any event,
his work with the Seahawks was also quite precious too, because he made it. He makes everybody feel like your next door neighbor doing an interview. Makes you feel comfortable when you're doing that. So yeah, Tony, special guy.
Yes, indeed, and you knew him well, and that's it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So you've met. If you had to guess, who would be, and I hate to use this term because I think we all have talent, we all have gifts, and some of us are better known for our gifts than others of us. But that doesn't diminish the gifts that everybody brings to the table. But if you had to tell me who was the most famous person you've ever met, who would it be?
Oh gosh. Let's see. Well, Robert Reed was one of them. Let's see. In the past, I think Cecily Berry, who is probably one of the top voice coaches in the world, was another one that Jack Clay brought in. It's not so much. It's like 1 degree of separation of people you really know, like Kevin Bacon. I'm
Right.
1 degree separation from Kevin, but I've never met the man. But my alums worked with him. Uh-oh, kitty. Most of the people I associated with were in education, cross country. Because of my being a state director and administrator, that got me connected with people, and a lot of the as I get older, I forget names.
I'm sorry, what's your name again?
Yeah, I know. What's my name again? I know.
That's part of us getting older and stuff, but it's the name of the book that Tony Ventrella wrote was Smile in the Mirror.
There you go. That's right.
And it was a book that was about taking care of yourself, believing in yourself, and every day look in the mirror and smile at yourself, because you may be the only one who does it all day.
You try to make other people smile, which is part of being a director too.
Exactly. So when you were a director, you strike me as being professional, fair, kind. Were you that way as a director, or were you like the director I had at Green River? I won't mention his name again, but he had moments to where he would just. It appeared from all of us standing there that he was just losing his mind.
I had 2 incredible directing teachers. One of them was Gregory Falls, who started Act Theater in Seattle. They even have an award in theater called the Gregory Awards, that he was one of my mentors. And he got me understanding that it's not being directorial, but it was being inspirational, or the 2 things that the director should be doing is to generate the ideas in the actors and let them make discoveries. And I made that kind of a motto. The second one was Jack Sido, the late Jack Sido, who had won a few awards for his musical theater work that he had done on Broadway and off Broadway. And those 2 were my major influencers, and as I was trained by them over six years of training, from my BA to postgraduate work, it just carried through to making me find my discoveries of how to deal with all kinds of people, especially high school kids and parents. You got to work with all kinds, and being able to give the respect that they deserve as people. That if you get their respect, then they will do anything for you. And I got that from them. And the love of each other is still there. And you can ask any of my alums what their feelings were towards me, except for the ones who probably didn't get cast. Which always is, they always have the issue of the hardest thing for a director to do is turn down someone who wants to work with you. That's the hardest part of directing.
How, in your opinion, and I've talked to other people that are in the acting profession as well, how important, in your opinion, is improvisational skills?
Paramount. It's paramount. Improvisation is the basis of acting. It gets you to think on your feet and to work off of someone else. And the slogan or saying "acting is reacting" is where improvisation is. You're focused on what the other person gives you, and then you go with it, and you don't say no to it. You just go in the direction that the other person gives you. And that's life on stage between people. So when I was training my actors, we would start with pantomime and then go to improvisation, theater sports, and then from there go to the script. It always started with no script in hand and working off of each other. And improv was, at least a quarter of teaching improv before you went into the next stage of script analysis.
See, and that's why you did so well, and your programs were so nationally known and received, was because of the foundation that you laid and the teamwork that you built from the very beginning of each production.
And that it's reflected in their continued work once they got to college. That they had that foundation behind them. So when they went out to audition for scholarships, it was recognizable. So when the college professors would see these students who want to continue their work, they see the passion of it, and they see the ability to think on their feet.
Well, and also, being a football player, that you have to be, it's one of 11, and being on stage, it's the same thing. You're only as good as the guy next to you who can remember his lines, and you can play off each other, and it works. So you have to work together as a team.
Its idea is not to be inside of yourself. You got to be outside working with your partner. That's the thrill of acting on stage. Well, even in film. I mean, the film, they do it in pieces, and they still have to do the, whether they do method or anything else to get the emotional connection, but they still have to work off of each other and work off the camera. On stage, you're working off your partner on stage, which is the difference. You're playing to your partner and to the audience, including them into what you're sharing.
I always enjoyed the automatic and immediate feedback that you got from doing a scene well and having the audience, number one, believe that it was as written and that you did a great job of it, and they're appreciative of it. And that was so much more fun to me than even being a disc jockey or doing any of the other things I've done. That was just wonderful.
And that's why we still do it. Exactly the reason why we still do it. It's if we can get the funding to continue to do it, and we can still get the people in the audience to have the habit of going back to live theater, that's important.
And if you want to find out more about the Heart Repertory Theater, you can go look at heartrep.org. And you get to see Mr. Anderson right there. He does a blog about everything that's going on there,
Yeah.
and you can donate. You can look at the history. You can participate with this budding program, because I'll tell you, there isn't enough community theater in any community, really, because there are lots of folks that would like to be able to participate, but in many cases, like you said, they don't pass the audition and they can't, and so they can't work. But and in a lot of cases, they would love to be able to work, and most of them do it for virtually nothing. You can't make a living doing this.
No, and that's why day jobs are important. That's why I was a teacher. But there's still people who they do it in the evening, 7 to 9 or 7 to 10, and they come back and do their passion. Oh, and Amber just said Hart also has YouTube. We do. We have a YouTube page. But during the pandemic, we did old time radio shows with my 32 actors that were part of Hart. For 2 years, I did 18 radio shows.
I saw that. That's pretty cool. That is really cool. And Jim French was a master at it.
Oh, and I still know several people who still work with his group. They still do the Niles detective series. That's really fun to listen to. But yeah, absolutely. I think radio theater is a lost art, and people should. I wish we would put it back on the air.
Well, that Jim French, his series is on Kixie Light now, late at night. And as a matter of fact, Positive Talk Radio, we are going to be starting the 14th of April. We are going to have an hour on Kixie from 3 to 4 in the afternoon. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun for you and Amber to come to the Amber.
Amber. If you also go if you have Sirius channel 148 on Sirius, is it Sirius?
Yep.
Yeah. That they have a 24/7 old time radio shows that you can listen to that are still fun to go back and listen to.
By the way, for those of us that are a little younger, before there was television, they used to do radio, and the radio shows were very much like the serials of Tom Mix and some of the serials that they would have, and people would sit around the radio like it was a television, and they would use their imagination. I think in many ways, I think those days were better than today. They would have been more fun.
It's interesting when we were doing the Zooms, how to put a face onto the characters and bring that to life too. So when I was editing those radio shows, we had to create the location, in the virtual background of your Zoom shot, and then positioning people so that they look like they were talking to each other. And then tell the stories that they had. And then underneath each of the actions, when you had the music sting, they had a lot of music that went through all of it. I was able to edit the music away from the original broadcast and put it inside of the show to give it life. And if you go back and look at our YouTube page, you can see all 18 that we did. We started with the Philip Marlowe series. We did a lot of R. Miss Brooks. We did All About Eve. We did the classics at that point. And those are still fun to listen to today. And the stories, people steal the stories and put them back on television now.
Oh yeah, they're timeless. They really are timeless.
They're timeless.
And by the way, we have been talking to Hjalmer Olsen, and he's the
Hjalmer Anderson.
Jiminy Christmas. Where did Olsen come from? I must be tired. Anyway,
that's Swedish.
And he is the artistic director of Hart Repertory Theatre, which is in just north of Seattle. And go to his website, which is heartrep.org. Learn all about it. And if you have, if you would like to, they've got several ways for you to donate and get tickets and get merchandise, and there's a bunch of stuff that you can do. So please go there and look at it. And I have to go ahead. I have to run, but anything else that
I was going to say one more thing. I am directing for the Woodinville Repertory Theatre. We're doing Angel Street, which opens June 2nd and runs for the month.
And how long is that going to run?
That's going to run for 4 weekends. Cool. And it's based on Gaslight, which was a 1940s movie. It was a British play called Gaslight that when it came to this country, they changed it to Angel Street.
And if you want to see Miss Washington in person, you can go there because she just said that she's going to be in that production too.
There you go. She's going to be assisting me as a director.
Oh, very nice. So you'll have to go look in the assistant director chair.
That's correct. It'll be fun.
And thank you so much for being here. And Amber, thank you for participating. What I have a new mission in life, just so you know, is to get you on camera and talking with me.
Yeah, she's fun to talk to. So yeah, get her on camera.
She's very dynamic, very dynamic. So thank you, sir, and I appreciate you taking the time. And will you come back and see me sometime?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're from kindred spirit from the same time period. We got to do that.
Oh boy, no kidding. And yeah, with Sonny and with a whole range of stuff.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much. By the way, what year were you born?
1950.
Oh, no, I was 57. I'm much younger than you.
I know. but I'm still in the water.
Yeah, wow.
Snorkeling.
I wish I were in the water. Yeah. But you met the Beatles and all that kind of stuff.
I did. I went to their first concert in '64 at the Coliseum. Row 22.
Very, very cool. Section. Could you hear them?
Screams a lot, but I also went to Portland and then they came back to their third concert. So I got to hear them then. But then we had the Beach Boys and we had the Rolling Stones come to town. We had everybody come to town. And whenever I get a chance, old Bainbridge kid just gets on the ferry and gets on the monorail and goes out and goes to their concerts. Those were fun days back then. And the Beatles, by the way, 2 tickets were $12. Now I know $6 a ticket. You have to go back to 1960s money, but it's still not $300 a ticket. Yeah, but we know when the last time we saw Paul McCartney, I mean, how much was that? 300 plus.
Yeah, to get within, so that he didn't look like a little pea on the stage.
I know.
It costs a lot. So anyway, Hjalmer Anderson, thank you very much. He's the artistic director for Hart Repertory Theatre and the Woodinville Repertory Theatre he works with as well. And thank you for being here, sir. And coming up next, we have a vocal coach, and that's going to be on KKNW 11:50 a.m. in 5 minutes. So stay here on YouTube, and you'll be able to watch that in its entirety as well. So I'll be back, and I've got to go right now. So thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
You hold on just a second. I'll do this, and then I'll be right back. Hey, thanks for enjoying this episode all the way to the end. Please give us a like and subscribe to this channel. This has been a production of PositiveTalkRadio.net. Please visit our website, oddly named PositiveTalkRadio.net, for more details about us and our mission, which is to provide great positive programming designed to inspire us all. I'm Kevin McDonald, and I'm proud of these shows, and I truly hope that you'll like them and share them with friends and family. So on behalf of our entire team, remember, be kind to one another because each other's